The Galactic Military Academy stood like a chrome cathedral against the purple skies of Nexus Prime, its towers piercing the clouds with the arrogance of 1,000 civilizations. Cadets from across the galaxy walked its halls, their varied forms creating a symphony of evolution. Six-armed Kethrians clicked their mandibles in conversation, while the floating Zephyrians hummed through their crystalline bodies. And then there was Maya Chen. The human walked through the corridors like she owned the place, her boots clicking against the polished floors with a rhythm that somehow managed to sound defiant. Her dark hair was pulled back in regulation style, but there was nothing regulation about the fire in her brown eyes or the smirk that played at the corners of her mouth. "Another day in paradise," Maya muttered, adjusting her tactical vest. The Academy's gravity was set to standard, which meant it felt like home to her, but left most other species either struggling or floating awkwardly. She rounded the corner into the main training bay, where combat instructor Vex'Thor waited. The Dracnarian stood 9 feet tall, his scaled hide the color of dried blood, with 4 arms that ended in claws capable of rending steel. His reptilian face bore the scars of 100 battles, and his golden eyes held the kind of contempt usually reserved for something stuck to the bottom of one's boot. "Ah, the little human arrives." Vex'Thor's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Tell me, Cadet Chen, do you know why your species was even allowed in the Academy?" The other cadets fell silent. This was not going to be pretty. Maya stopped in front of the towering instructor, craning her neck to meet his gaze. "Enlighten me, sir." "Charity," Vex'Thor hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste her fear. Except Maya didn't smell afraid. She smelled amused. "Your pathetic little world begged for inclusion. The council took pity on your primitive species." "Primitive?" Maya's eyebrows shot up. "That's rich, coming from someone whose people are still figuring out indoor plumbing." A collective gasp echoed through the training bay. Several cadets stepped back, anticipating the carnage. Vex'Thor's 4 hands clenched into fists. "What did you say?" "You heard me, Scales." Maya's voice dropped to a conversational tone, but there was steel underneath. "I've read the reports. Your home world still uses waste disposal systems from the medieval period. Meanwhile, humans were splitting atoms when you were still worshipping rocks." The Dracnarian's face flushed a deeper shade of red. "Insolent whelp. You dare." "I dare a lot of things," Maya interrupted, her smile growing sharper. "It's kind of our thing. We dare to leave our planet when we barely understood fire. We dare to explore space in metalkins held together with hope and stubbornness. We dare to apply to this academy despite knowing creatures like you would look down on us." Vex'Thor took a step closer, his shadow falling over the human cadet like a dark cloud. "Your species is weak, fragile. You break with the slightest pressure." "Fragile?" Maya laughed, and the sound was like breaking glass. "Do you know what we call a planet where everything is trying to kill you? Home. Do you know what we call it when someone bigger than us tries to intimidate us?" Tuesday. The training bay had gone dead silent. Even the normally chattering Zephyrians had stopped their humming. "You want to know about human fragility?" Maya continued, her voice gaining momentum. "We're the species that looked at a giant ball of nuclear fire and said, 'Let's get closer.' We're the ones who saw the deepest ocean trenches and thought, 'Vacation spot.' We domesticated wolves, rode horses into battle, and turned every single natural disaster into extreme sport." Vex'Thor's breathing was getting heavier. "Silence. We don't know when to quit." Maya pressed on, completely ignoring the order. "It's our most annoying trait. Ask anyone in the galaxy. Humans don't give up. We don't back down. We don't shut up. And we absolutely, positively do not respect bullies who think size equals strength." That was when Vex'Thor snapped. His massive hand moved faster than most species could track, but Maya had been waiting for it. She'd been goading him toward this moment since the conversation started. The slap connected with her cheek, with a crack that echoed through the training bay like a gunshot. Maya's head snapped to the side from the impact. For a moment, she stayed in that position, her dark hair falling across her face. The training bay held its collective breath. Then Maya straightened up, wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of her mouth, and smiled. 38 seconds, she said conversationally. "What?" Vex'Thor snarled, confused by her calm reaction. I said 38 seconds. That's how long you lasted before losing control. I was betting on 20. Honestly, you showed more restraint than I expected. The Dracnarian's 4 eyes widened as realization dawned. You planned this. Oh, completely? Maya nodded, her smile turning predatory. See, there's something about humans you clearly don't understand, Instructor. We're vindictive little creatures. Someone hurts us, we hurt them back. Usually harder. Vex'Thor laughed, a sound like grinding stone. You? Hurt me? Child, I have fought in the siege of HFY. I have battled void hunters in the depths of space. You are nothing but a... He never finished the sentence. Maya moved with the fluid grace of a dancer and the precision of a surgeon. Her right hand shot up, fingers extended, and struck the nerve cluster just below Vex'Thor's left jaw with surgical accuracy. The massive Dracnarian's eyes went wide with shock and pain. But Maya wasn't done. Her left hand followed immediately, striking the corresponding point on the right side of his jaw. The combination of pressure points sent waves of agony through the Instructor's nervous system, temporarily paralyzing the muscles that controlled his jaw. Vex'Thor tried to roar, but only a strangled whimper escaped. Human anatomy lesson, Maya said cheerfully, as if she were discussing the weather. We might not have 4 arms or scales or the ability to breathe underwater, but we have something else. We have hands specifically designed for tool use. And do you know what the most versatile tool in the universe is? She grabbed Vex'Thor's lower jaw with both hands, her fingers finding the exact points where bone met cartilage. Knowledge. The sound that came next was not something that should have been possible in a modern, civilized academy. It was a wet, grinding crack of bone separating from bone, cartilage tearing, and a 9-foot-tall apex predator discovering that size meant nothing when your opponent knew exactly where to apply pressure. Vex'Thor's jawbone came free in Maya's hands with a pop that made several cadets faint. The massive Dracnarian fell to his knees, clutching his face, green blood streaming between his claws. His attempts to scream came out as pitiful gurgles. Maya held up the jawbone, examining it with clinical interest. Lighter than I expected. Good bone density, though. Your species clearly gets enough calcium. She looked around the training bay at the horrified faces of her fellow cadets. Some were staring in shock. Others were actively retching. The Zephyrians had turned a sickly shade of yellow. What? Maya asked innocently. It'll grow back. Dracnarian physiology includes rapid bone regeneration. He'll be fine in a few weeks. Might have trouble eating solid food for a while. But honestly, that's probably good for him. Have you seen the Academy cafeteria portions? Academy security burst through the doors, weapons drawn. Captain Zura Okafor, the human liaison officer, led the group. Her dark skin was flushed with anger and what might have been admiration. Cadet Chun, Captain Okafor barked. What in the name of all the stars have you done? Maya held up the jawbone like a trophy. Gave a lesson in human anatomy, ma'am. And possibly Dracnarian anatomy, too. Educational experience for everyone involved. You remove his jaw. Temporarily, Maya corrected. And technically he struck a cadet first. That's assault according to Academy regulations. I was simply defending myself. Captain Okafor looked at the whimpering Vex'Thor, then at Maya, then at the jawbone in the cadet's hands. Defending yourself? Article 7 of the Academy Combat Regulations, Maya recited. Any instructor who physically strikes a cadet outside of authorized training exercises is subject to immediate disciplinary action. Any cadet who is unlawfully struck is authorized to use reasonable force to defend themselves. Reasonable force? Maya looked at the jawbone thoughtfully. I could have gone for spine. This seemed more educational. The medical team arrived and began working on Vex'Thor, who was still making those horrible gurgling sounds. One of the medics, a spider-like Arachnian, looked at Maya with something approaching awe. How did you know the exact pressure points? The medic asked. Human medical training. Maya replied. We study anatomy extensively. All anatomy. Every species in the galaxy. You never know when you'll need to help someone. She paused, her smile turning sharp again. Or hurt them. Captain Okafor stepped closer, lowering her voice. Chen, do you realize what you've just done? Vex'Thor is one of the most feared instructors in the Academy. His combat record is irrelevant. Maya interrupted. He let his ego override his training. He struck a cadet in front of witnesses. That makes him a bully and a criminal, not a war hero. And you think removing his jaw was an appropriate response? Maya considered this seriously. Well, I did warn him about human vindictiveness and stubbornness and our general unwillingness to back down from bullies. So yes, I think it was perfectly appropriate. She handed the jawbone to one of the medics. Here, he'll want this back. The medic took the bone with obvious reluctance, handling it like it might explode. Captain Okafor shook her head slowly. You realize this is going to cause an interstellar incident, don't you? The Dracnarian Empire is not going to be happy about this. Maya shrugged. Let them complain. They started it. Chen, ma'am, with respect, this was inevitable. Maya's voice lost its casual tone, becoming serious the first time since the incident began. He's been pushing human cadets since we arrived, making us prove ourselves over and over again, treating us like we don't belong here. Someone was going to snap eventually. And you decided it should be you? I decided I was tired of being looked down on by someone whose greatest achievement is having good genetics for violence. Maya's eyes flashed with anger. Humans didn't get into space by being the biggest or the strongest. We got there by being smarter, more determined, and more creative than anyone expected. And if that threatens creatures like Vex'Thor, well, she looked at the groaning instructor. They can learn to deal with it. The training bay was finally starting to empty as cadets were dismissed, and the medical team prepared to transport Vex'Thor to the infirmary. Maya stood alone in the center of the room, her uniform still perfectly pressed despite having just dismantled a 9-foot-tall apex predator. Captain Okafor approached her one more time. Chen, you do realize your academy career is probably over? Maya's smile returned, softer now, but no less dangerous. Maybe. Or maybe the Academy will realize that humans bring something to the table that can't be taught in combat class. We bring the understanding that sometimes, when someone bigger than you tries to push you around, you don't step back. You step forward. She looked around the empty training bay. Besides, I got 37 more seconds to beat next time. The Academy's disciplinary chamber looked like something designed to intimidate, with its obsidian walls and floating tribunal platform. 5 beings from different species sat in judgment, their alien features casting strange shadows under the harsh lighting. Maya stood in the center of the room, her hands clasped behind her back, looking remarkably calm for someone facing potential expulsion from the most prestigious military academy in the galaxy. Admiral Kestal, a Zephyrian whose crystalline body refracted light into rainbow patterns, spoke first. Cadet Chen, you stand accused of assault resulting in severe bodily harm to Instructor Vex'Thor. How do you plead? Not guilty, sir, Maya replied without hesitation. A ripple of surprise went through the chamber. General Thorne, the sole human representative on the tribunal, leaned forward. Cadet, we have multiple witnesses who saw you remove Instructor Vex'Thor's jawbone. Are you claiming this did not happen? Maya's lips curved into that dangerous smile again. Oh, it happened, sir. I'm just not guilty of assault. Commander Rixka, a 4-armed Kethrian, clicked her mandibles in agitation. Explain yourself human. Simple, Maya said, her voice carrying easily through the chamber. According to Academy Regulation 7 Alpha Prime, any physical contact initiated by an instructor against a cadet outside of authorized training exercises constitutes assault. Instructor Vex'Thor struck me first. What I did was self-defense. Self-defense. Admiral Kestal's crystalline form pulsed with skeptical light. You removed his jaw. Temporarily, Maya corrected. And I used only the minimum force necessary to neutralize the threat. Could have gone for his spine, his breathing passages, or several other vital points. Instead, I chose a non-lethal response that would incapacitate him without permanent damage. The 5th member of the tribunal, Judge Yarmoth of the Ancient Eternal Race, spoke for the first time. His voice carried the weight of millennia. You speak as if you calculated this response. Cadet Chun. I did, sir. Maya's honesty was startling. The moment Instructor Vex'Thor began his verbal harassment, I anticipated the escalation. Humans have extensive experience dealing with bullies. We've developed strategies. General Thorne looked uncomfortable. Strategies that involve removing body parts? Strategies that involve teaching lessons that stick, Maya replied. Vex'Thor has been systematically targeting human cadets since our species joined the Academy, creating a hostile environment, making us prove ourselves repeatedly while giving other species the benefit of the doubt. Someone needed to draw a line. So you appointed yourself judge and executioner? Commander Rixka demanded. I appointed myself defender. Maya shot back, her composure cracking slightly. Do you know what it's like to walk these halls knowing that half the instructors see you as charity cases? To have your every achievement questioned, your every mistake magnified, to be told daily that your species doesn't belong here. She began pacing, her movements sharp and controlled. Humans didn't beg for inclusion in this academy. We earned it. We solved the Kepler crisis when your best military minds were stumped. We ended the Void War that had been dragging on for decades. We've contributed more to galactic peace in 50 years than some species have in centuries. And yet you resort to violence, Judge Yarmoth observed. Maya stopped pacing and fixed him with a stare. Violence? Sir, with respect, have you read human history? We're a species that fought 2 world wars and still managed to walk on our moon between them. We turned our most destructive weapons into power sources for our cities. We domesticated predators and made them family pets. Violence isn't our first resort. It's our last resort, but when we reach it, we're very, very good at it. The chamber fell silent. Maya took a breath and continued, her voice softer but no less intense. Vex'Thor made a mistake. He thought because humans are smaller, younger, less physically imposing than most galactic species, we were weak. He forgot that evolution doesn't just create strength. It creates adaptability. And humans are the most adaptable species in known space. By removing jawbones? Admiral Kestow asked dryly. By knowing exactly how, Maya replied. Do you want to know why I could do what I did? Because humans study. Everything. Everyone. We don't just learn our own anatomy. We learn yours. All of yours. Every pressure point. Every weak spot. Every biological vulnerability of every species we encounter. Not because we want to hurt you, but because we want to help you. Human medics have saved lives from 300 different species. Human doctors have performed surgeries that native physicians said were impossible. She gestured toward the door. That same knowledge that lets us heal also lets us harm. Vex'Thor forgot that the hands that can perform microsurgery to save a Dracnarian's life can also dislocate a Dracnarian's jaw with surgical precision. General Thorne cleared his throat. Cadet Chun, while your educational background is noted, the fact remains that you could have simply reported the incident. Maya's laugh was sharp and bitter. To whom, sir? Vex'Thor's supervisor is Commander Grektow, another Dracnarian who shares his views on human inferiority. The Academy's complaint system requires 3 witnesses willing to testify, and most cadets are too afraid of retaliation to speak up against instructors. I tried official channels, sir, for 6 months. Nothing changed. She straightened to attention. So I took direct action. I made it impossible for Vex'Thor to ignore the consequences of his behavior. And I made it clear to every other instructor in this academy that human cadets are not easy targets. Commander Rixka's mandibles clicked rapidly. You've certainly accomplished that. Half the instructors are afraid to be alone with human cadets now. Good, Maya said simply. Maybe now they'll treat us with the same respect they show other species. The tribunal exchanged glances. Judge Yarmoth leaned back in his floating chair. Cadet Chun, your actions have created a significant diplomatic incident. The Dracnarian Empire has filed formal complaints. They're demanding your expulsion and criminal prosecution. Let them demand, Maya replied. They struck first. Every species in this galaxy will know that. And every species will also know that humans don't back down from bullies, regardless of their political connections. Admiral Kestal's crystalline form pulsed thoughtfully. You realize this could affect human admission to the Academy? Future applicants might be denied because of your actions. For the first time since entering the chamber, Maya looked genuinely concerned. With respect, sir, I don't think that's how it will play out. Explain. Maya smiled, and this time it wasn't dangerous or predatory. It was confident, because word is already spreading. Not just about what I did, but why I did it. Cadets from dozens of species have been coming forward with their own stories about Vex'Thor's behavior. Seems he wasn't just targeting humans. He had a pattern of picking on anyone he perceived as weak. General Thorne raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Yes, sir. The ethereal cadets have filed complaints about him mocking their pacifist beliefs. The aquatic species cadets report harassment about their breathing apparatus. Even some of the Kethrian cadets have stories about him questioning their loyalty because they're from a client species. Maya's voice gained strength. What I did wasn't just about defending humans, sir. It was about defending the principle that this academy is supposed to represent. That military excellence comes from unity, not from one species dominating others. Commander Rixka's clicking slowed to a thoughtful rhythm. You're saying Vex'Thor was undermining academy values? I'm saying Vex'Thor forgot what those values are, Maya replied, and I reminded him, loudly. The tribunal fell into whispered conference. There are various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, hums, and crystalline chimes. Maya waited, her hands still clasped behind her back, her expression patient. Finally, Admiral Kestal spoke. Cadet Chun, the tribunal has reached a decision. You are hereby found not guilty of assault. Your actions are classified as justifiable self-defense under Academy regulations. Maya's shoulders relaxed slightly, but she remained at attention. However, General Thorne continued, you are guilty of excessive force and creating a public disturbance. You will serve 1 month of additional duties and undergo anger management counseling. With respect, sir, Maya said carefully, I wasn't angry. I was precise. Judge Yarmata's ancient eyes glinted with something that might have been amusement. Nevertheless, you will attend the counseling. Consider it diplomatic sensitivity training. Yes, sir. Commander Rixka leaned forward. Cadet Chun, there's one more matter. Instructor Vex'Thor has requested a transfer to a different academy. It seems he finds the current environment uncomfortable. Maya's smile returned, sharp and satisfied. I can imagine, sir. His replacement will be Commander Sarah Martinez, recently graduated from the Human Military Institute. She comes highly recommended. A human instructor, sir? The Academy has decided that diverse teaching perspectives are valuable. Admiral Kestal said diplomatically, your actions have prompted some policy reviews. As Maya left the disciplinary chamber, she found Captain Okafor waiting in the corridor. The older woman fell into step beside her. Well, Captain Okafor asked. Not guilty of assault. Guilty of excessive force. 1 month additional duties. Could have been worse. Could have been better, Maya replied. But I'll take it. They walked in silence for a moment before Captain Okafor spoke again. Chun, you know this isn't over, right? You've made enemies. Powerful ones. Maya's smile was razor sharp. Good thing humans are used to having enemies. Then, we've had plenty practice. And if they come for you? Maya stopped walking and turned to face her superior officer. Then they'll learn the same lesson Vex'Thor did. Humans don't break easily. And when we do break... She gestured back toward the disciplinary chamber. We tend to take pieces of our enemies with us. As they continued down the corridor, other cadets stepped aside to let them pass. Some looked at Maya with fear, others with respect, and a few with something approaching awe. Word had indeed spread throughout the academy. Not just about the human cadet who had removed an instructor's jawbone, but about the human cadet who had stood up to systematic harassment and won. Maya Chen had set a precedent. She had drawn a line in the academy's polished floors and dared anyone to cross it. And in the medical wing, as Instructor Vex'Thor received his new artificial jaw, he learned that it would take several more weeks for his natural bone to regenerate. Every time he looked in the mirror, every time he tried to speak, Every time he attempted to eat, he would be reminded of the small human cadet who had taught him that size wasn't everything. Maya had kept her promise. She had given him an education. And unlike his lessons in intimidation and harassment, this one would stick.